Yo, what's good? It's your boy Doc from Dot Me Now Coaching and Entertainment. For coaching, my links are down below. I have several different spiritual readings down below for many different purposes. Go check that out. I have a Patreon down below. I have an astral projection course down below. I have a Discord down below, an email down below. Email me if you got a question or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I might make a whole entire video for you. Um, Social media is down below. Everything's down below. Go check your boy out. Go check your boy out. But inside today's video, right? We are going to be talking about fear once again. So I made a part one to this, which kind of just dealt with like why fear is not a thing that you should be experiencing in 2025 and 2026. But this video is going to actually go a little bit more in depth in regards to how fear is so limiting on the soul, because fear really does limit the soul. I was being taught about this one time when I was at the studio, and like, you know, I was on a boomy. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know what a boomy is, you just don't know what it is. But while doing that, I was learning a lot about fear. I was able to feel people's fears around certain subjects and certain topics, which kind of limits them to actually understanding a certain thing and even progressing with certain things, because they have to walk through certain doors to get there. But people are scared of certain doors that it takes to get to where they want to be at. I could go more in depth about that, but long story short, just understand that people have a lot of fear around certain concepts, ideas, and experiences, and because of that, it limits them to moving forward inside their life. Now, with that being said, when I was being taught that, I was being taught about the Azure Dragon, which is one of my past life forms as an Azure Dragon. Now, that may be like, this guy's a dragon. Like, for those of y'all who know me, you know what it is. You know what I'm saying? For those of y'all who don't, you know what I'm saying? It just is what it is. But yeah, I'm aware of my past lives. You know what I'm saying? All this. That's why I have this. This is a kimono. It's an Azure Dragon kimono. You know what I'm saying? I fuck with all this shit. And I don't. I mean, I could sound like I'm crazy. I don't care what you say. This shit is real. I made Patreon videos about several different teachings from the Azure Dragon, because it's like a past life version of me, but it's super duper highly ascended. I mean, it's a seven. It's not like a 12D, but it's like a seven. It has a 7D awareness, And when you hit that high level of awareness, you can actually like exist outside of like time and space and communicate with your other past life selves, or with your other, I should even say you can communicate with your other other versions of your different characters inside of all these lifetimes, whether it's a alien lifetime, whether it's another Earth lifetime, whether it's a lifetime in a whole different realm. So with that being said, I communicate with a past life version of myself because it can exist separate from this vessel, because this is just one character of many. So with that being said, it's been teaching me certain stuff, and it's taught me about fear. And I have a certain I have a message, right? Because I this morning I asked it. I was like, so tell me exactly why fear is so limiting on the soul. And I do this thing called I'm gonna call it channel telepathy, because it's not actually coming inside my body and typing through me. It's kind of just telling me different stuff, right? And I'm just letting it come out, and I'm just typing it down. I have several videos like this on my Patreon where it talks about when it talks about time, it talks about what time actually is. It talks about the nature of time and how to transcend time and actually control time. It also talked about the dream of reality and waking up to it, and how to interact with the dream more fully. So much stuff I learned from the Azure Dragon. That's on my Patreon. But let's talk about fear. Why is fear so limited to the soul? So it says fear is one of, if not the worst emotions that one can experience. Now it also says it's one of the worst spirits that one can experience. Now, what's a spirit, right? People kind of interlink spirits and entities, but for those of you guys who don't know, a spirit, to keep it simple, is an intelligent energy. It's a it's an energy that has intelligence to it. All the emotions are technically spirits because it's an energy in motion. So when you feel an emotion, you're feeling the energy of that emotion, the energy of happiness, the energy of sadness, the energy of hate, anger, fear, all these things. Then when you feel those emotions, you actually have certain thoughts, right? You can have fearful thoughts, angry thoughts, happy thoughts. That is the intelligence of that emotion. Now, an entity is an actual conscious being, that's like an actual being that could like do something to you and try to fuck you up. A spirit is just the energy, though, right? So fear is a spirit, the spirit of fear. You know, you feel a certain way, and then you have certain thoughts. You have certain fearful thoughts. That's the intelligence of fear right there. You know, and that's one of the worst ones, if not the worst one that we can experience. Right? It says one should always have caution due to respect, understanding, and wisdom. One should never experience fear unless they punish themselves completely. Now, punish, when it comes to how it actually, like the word punishment within inside of the Bible in Hebrew actually means to be cut off from God. So it's saying that you should never experience fear unless you want to cut yourself off from the Most High, God, source, spirit, whatever you want to call it, right? And this is because the dragon explains more about this, because essentially, if you have fear, you're not being in line with God. You know what I'm saying? You're not being in line with source. You're not being in line with spirit, you know? But you should be cautious and have respect and all that stuff. And it talks more about what that actually means and how they're separate. It says, in order to experience fear, you have to go completely against your soul and its connection to your spirit, which is connected to God. Why should one be afraid when they are a vessel for God, lest you have a lack of faith? Now, faith in the Bible in Hebrew actually means to be firm with God and God's will. So what it's saying is, if you know that you're a vessel for God, why would you be scared? Do you not have faith? Are you not firm within God's will? Are you not firm and attached to God and a pure vessel that God could just move through? Because if you were, you shouldn't be scared because God is omnipotent, you know? Like the people in India, right? There's a book, I've been reading it for the past couple of days. It's called The Life and Teachings of the Masters from the Far East. I think it's called that. And these people walk through fires and walk on water and manifest bread out of thin air, you know? Like some scientists just went there one day and studied these people, and they could do crazy shit. And when they get asked how did they do it, they always say that without they said with their own individual will they could do nothing, for all things are done by the Father, that being God, you know. Now they're not Christians, but they do understand. They actually give higher meanings to Christian verses and stuff like that. They actually have documents of John the Baptist being inside wherever they live at. It's crazy as heck. That book is wild. I think it's a good read for anybody who wants to really understand how like these masters of spirituality actually live, because they don't live like us at all. They can manifest money out of thin air, but they don't manifest like $1 million. They manifest the exact amount needed for that period of time, you know. They don't gotta pay to they don't gotta pay for gas. They just teleport. You know what I'm saying? When they eat food, they'll pay the waiter, but they're not gonna give like they're not gonna manifest $1 million just to have $1 million. They don't indulge inside pleasures that need that much money anyway. You know, so yeah. It's the masters over there are crazy, and they do all things with the power of God. They tell you that. They literally say that we're no different. All we did is just that we cultivated our God-given power more than you have. As simple as that. So yeah, if you know that if you really have faith and you're firm with God and God's will, you know, source, spirit, the Most High, if you're firm with that, you know you wouldn't have any fear, but you would still have caution, and it talks about that. So it says, yeah, why should one be afraid when they are a vessel for God, lest you have lack of faith, unless you have a lack of faith? Caution, respect, wisdom, and understanding are truly faculties which have come from God, which naturally exist inside your consciousness, while fear is something that is manufactured purely because of the flesh, and it's etheric through mental counterparts, which one's soul can learn to adapt to and ingrain inside its own being. So what that is saying is the fact that as a consciousness, right? Our consciousness comes directly from God. You know, like yes, we have a spirit, over soul, but all that comes directly from God. That's why inside the Bible it says that God breathed into us, right? Because God gave us an aspect of his consciousness, and it's a him in that sense because it's the active aspect of God. That's why you have Father God, Mother Nature. Inside the earth, you have to plant things. God is the one who plants the seed and makes things grow, but the earth is what receives that seed. It's the feminine aspect. The whole universe is a giant womb that gets impregnated by God. And so that's why God's the Father, but the universe and that's why the universe in nature is a feminine energy, because it's receptive to the higher will of God. But it's all one truly. But anyway, with all that being said, right, we got an aspect of that consciousness, you know. Now, when it comes to caution and respect, all right, my fault, I had to fix something on here. My fault. When it comes to caution and respect, right? Caution, respect, understanding, and wisdom. These things are naturally inside God's consciousness, and it actually explains what that means even more. However, fear is something of the body. So when you're just a consciousness, you actually have no fear. However, at some point, when you inhabit this body, the body does have its own intelligence. Like the liver is what deals with anger, but also kindness. The heart deals with love and hate. The kidneys deal with fear and gentleness. You can learn this inside of Taoism, you know. So because of that, right, those are the intelligences of those organs. And those are like the etheric effects, the emotional effects. They have the astral effects, which are like the pretty much you could like if you were to meditate on a certain organ, you can actually like start to get imagery, you know, which actually reflects the state of that organ, you know. So the astral deals with the imagery of that organ, you know what I'm saying? What it looks like when you actually perceive that information visually, because you can actually see what your things visually look like. And it'd be like a representation of the energy with the side of that organ, you know. So you may meditate on your liver and then you see yourself crashing the fuck out. That could show you that your liver is holding a whole bunch of anger. Vice versa, you can meditate on it to see like you yourself being kind as fuck. Your liver is holding kindness. You know what I'm saying? Long story short, right? Those also affect you also. Then you have the mental effects, the thoughts of those organs, right? Your soul can attach itself to that because the mind is a group of information, and the mind is generated by your soul because your soul is a consciousness, right? It observes things, and as it observes things, it can actually start to hold on to what it observes and put it with inside of its mind, the group of information. So with that being said, well, when it comes inside the body, it cannot be affected by the fear of the body and then carry it with it out of body. That's why when you leave your body, you might be scared because you actually attach yourself to the body and the intelligence of the body. Once you break free from that, you don't think how the body thinks. There's no more fear at all. So yeah, this should get deep, low key. But there's a video on my Patreon called it's an ET enlightenment from the Elohim that deals with the purpose of humanity. Watch that video because they actually explain this real deep about how our consciousness is pure in our body is where like the certain sin comes from, you know what I'm saying, quote unquote. It's our body has a separate it's pretty much we have an impure intelligence in our body, you know what I'm saying. That's why we have fear, hate, things like that, you know what I'm saying. It's not actually that's not actually programmed inside of our consciousness, but our body ends up programming our soul and our consciousness, you know what I'm saying. This is why we got to become quote unquote holy or set apart and set our consciousness apart from our body and make ourselves consecrated, which is holy, to be set apart, you know what I'm saying, to be set apart for God's will, not the will of the body. But yeah, that's all explained in some of my Patreon inside that video by the Elohim. But anyway, it says, we know that God is cautious. This is why God's design is perfect, lest you are a human who is not able to perceive this. For most humans have no idea how to perceive organized chaos, which is the main reason why a human may see life as imperfect. Now, really think about that. What it's trying to say right there is the fact that, I ain't gonna make this too long, but what it's trying to say is the fact that life is perfect. Creation is perfect. It only doesn't seem perfect when you're seeing like so much chaos. But this chaos is organized and it's done on purpose for a higher purpose that you can't fully see. But it's like for example, you can have certain dreams where fuck shit happens. But if you become lucid inside that dream, you'll know why it's happening and the benefit of it and the higher purpose of it that you couldn't fully see when you weren't that conscious. It's the same with life. Life is it's literally like a dream. You know what I'm saying? Which the Azure Dragon talks about that on our Patreon. You know. But when it comes to that inside life, certain fuck shit may happen, but you kind of see the higher purpose of why it's happening. You see, so it may look like chaos, but it's actually organized. So it's saying that we know that God is cautious because creation is perfect. God was cautious with creation. That's why even with the chaos, it's super duper organized, even if you can't always see it. It says, when going about duties when going about duties within your everyday life, caution and respect are always important, for they invoke your consciousness and allow you to handle things in the best way possible. I mean, that makes sense. When you're cautious and have respect, you tend to be a bit more conscious because you start to actually watch yourself and what you're doing. You know, like if you're gonna like let's say like you're walking on like a tightrope, right? Like for like let's say like you're a circus person because they don't really be scared when they walk on a tightrope because they know they could do it. You know what I'm saying? They're not. Some of them might be scared, but they're more cautious than scared. They're like, I know I could do this if I just be cautious and take my time with this. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's trying to say right there. how it evokes your consciousness, because it makes you a bit, you have to focus more and be more aware in order to be cautious, you know what I'm saying? And when you have respect for something, you're naturally more cautious with it and care more for it, so you actually pay more attention and you're actually more conscious with inside that act. It says you can do amazing things with caution and respect for these two spirits, because technically when you feel respect, you feel the energy of respect, and you have the thoughts that deal with respect. That's the spirit of respect, you know what I'm saying? Same with caution. It says you can do amazing things with caution and respect. For these two spirits allow you to do things in the best, aka the safest and quickest, most efficient way possible. Now, when it says quickest, it means efficient, not hasty. It's not like rushing, you know what I'm saying? It's just gonna get done quickly. It's just gonna get done quickly and swiftly, you know? Because it also says the safest too. With caution, it'll be the safest and most efficient. So other methods may be like super duper fast and hasty, but they're not that safe. It's not saying that. It's saying you're gonna pick the safest one that's also very it's very efficient. It's not just hasty, it's very efficient. Like it's quick, but because of efficiency, not because of rushing and hastiness, you know? Because caution is the opposite of that. Caution means to not be hasty, literally. Especially when it comes to Hebrew, you know? It says, this is how God goes about developing creation, with caution, aka attentiveness and care, along with respect, consideration, and seriousness. When you have respect, you have due regard. You consider other people's feelings. You have respect for an environment. You consider, you have due regard for the environment. You actually consider the state of the environment and the best way to properly act inside that environment. You know what I'm saying? And also when it comes to respect inside the Bible, we so the word respect literally means to not take somebody lightly, or to not take things lightly, to be more serious with it. When it says to fear God, when it talks about fearing God, it actually means in the sense of having respect for God, you know what I'm saying? But because there's different words that get translated into fear inside the Bible, you know what I'm saying? One of them is to actually be afraid on some scary, like I'm scared shit. That's not what it's talking about. There's actually a different word for it that gets put into fear in English also, but in Hebrew it actually means to have respect and reverence, to actually take God seriously, to have caution. You know what I'm saying? That's what that fear actually means. So yes, you see the word fear inside the Bible, but if you saw the Hebrew word, it'd be different Hebrew words for the same word that translates into fear, because it's different kinds of fear. But this fear, in regards to having caution, right, that's the fear of the Lord, to have respect for the Lord, you know what I'm saying, to actually care and to actually understand the higher power, God, source, spirit, the most high, whatever you want to call it, you know. So yeah, it says that's how God develops creation, with caution, which is attentiveness and care, and also with respect, consideration, and seriousness. This is because God And it says, this is because of God's understanding and wisdom, which are also two spirits and faculties which one contains as well, due to one being a child of God. And it says one, it means you. And what that means is that you have God's consciousness, which contains understanding and wisdom, and that manifests through your intellect and your intuition. So even if you look at even if you look at the Kabbalistic tree of life, right, you're gonna see at the top, right before Keter, there's a Bina and Hakma. You know what I'm saying, which is wisdom and understanding. So understanding is like intellectual knowledge. It's like understanding that comes with words. Like me explaining, like right now I'm explaining something to you right now. This is understanding. So I'm using words, right? Wisdom has no words. It's just the true knowing of that concept without the need to actually break it down into words. So one's intuition, one's intellectual. Your intellect actually makes words and breaks down things. Your intuition just instantly knows them without having to even think about it. So that's how God's understanding and wisdom manifests through you, you know? And when you have wisdom and understanding, you actually take things more cautiously and seriously. Like when you could, like when I like so you could intuitively know, right, that something, okay, let's say that I can intuitively know that I should be careful with a weapon, right? But I could also intellectually understand it. This is a knife. It's sharp. I use it the wrong way. I could puncture myself. I'm not scared of it. I know how to use it, but I will be cautious to actually care, be attentive with this thing. You see what I'm saying? Well, my ear just rang. But yeah, it says this should never be mistaken for fear, though. For fear means that this should never be mistaken for fear, though. For fear means that you have doubt, especially within one's ability to overcome, usually overcoming a perceived threat, danger, situation, and or block. Caution has no doubt, for all things can be overcome through the will of the Father, aka the active aspect of God and source intelligence. For this is just a matter of right knowledge and right technique, along with right preparation, which will naturally come if you have developed right knowledge and right technique. So what it's saying is you could literally you could literally do anything, right? Now something I don't like is when someone says nothing is impossible. You know what I'm saying? Because technically certain things are. Like, I can't fly right now. That's impossible to do it right now. But it is still possible for me to fly if I have the right knowledge and the right technique. And if I know how to do it, right? With my intellect and intuition, and I also have the proper technique of doing it, right? I would naturally have the right preparation because if I know how to do it, I know how to prepare also. Maybe I got to become a certain type of weight. Maybe I got to change my diet and have a more energy diet or something like that. Whatever it is, right? With the right knowledge and the right technique, you'll naturally have the right preparation as well. And then that is what allows you to do all things. And you can actually get that right knowledge and right technique from God if it's the will of God. That's why you have niggas in India who be flying and shit and be doing all kinds of crazy shit. Like that's why, because they did it with the will of the Father, you know. Now, granted, if you wanna end up flying, so you could like fly to somebody's house and then beat them up and then fly to the store and rob them and fly away, you will never learn how to fly because that's not the will of the Father. You know what I'm saying? It's not, you know? But yeah, and the Father is not like an actual man. It's just the active aspect of God or source intelligence, what like we're talking about, you know? Or like it said with inside of here. But yeah. It says all things are possible with caution, while all things my fault. All things are possible with caution, and that's because with caution, you'll naturally want to have the right knowledge and the right technique. If you're actually attentive and you care about how you do something, you're gonna be like, okay, how do I actually do that? What's the proper technique? How do I prepare myself? Okay, good. That's why with caution, all things are possible. Literally, you know what I'm saying? While all things, right, all possibilities and faculties within inside you get shut off when fears apply to them. So you can't experience new possibilities or do anything with inside of yourself when fear is applied to it. This is why you have a freeze response along with flight or fight. I mean along with fight or flight. For if you're too scared, aka you're too doubtful, and you think and you don't think you can actually overcome that thing, and you don't think you can actually fight or run, you will simply just freeze and shut yourself down. So it's saying that with caution, all things are possible. With fear, all things get shut down. And when it says when it says all things, it means all possibilities for yourself and also all the faculties inside of yourself. That's why when you get scared, right, you have a fight or flight response. But if